Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this from. New week, as you already know, like I said, I'm going to make this a regular thing now on Mondays where we actually look at the weekly overview. So I'm going to make this a consistent thing. Like I said, hold me accountable if you do not see me post on a Monday. Hit me up on Instagram, comment on my YouTube page. Just make sure I am posting on a Monday. Okay, it's not like I need extra motivation, but I want to make it a thing for the rest of the year. Like every Monday, we're posting a weekly overview. So, as we always do, we're going to start off with gold and then we're going to break down the normal Forex pairs because, as you know, gold is a commodity and then we break down the normal Forex pairs as they all coincide with the DXY, which is the dollar index. So, let's kick this off. And kicking it off, we might as well kick it off from this banging trades that we actually got last week. So, as you can see here, we posted to buy from 3288 or 3286 with a TP open or with this specific TP prices. As you can see here, again, so we said 3288, which is 3288 right here, okay, or 386, 3286, which is right here. So within this region, as you can see, just within this region right here. Okay, so we called out that buy, and I'm just going to break this down of why this was a banging trade, why it made a lot of sense, and also with the news that was literally coming out at that time at 1:30, why it made sense. So yeah, we kind of started taking off from the London session, as you can see my green box right there, and then from there because they're hiking up, and then the news came out, and then we was already in the trade, and then boom, a 10 to 1 was met. So let's just break this down why this actually made sense. Okay, so let's just take things back and understanding why we was even looking at this in the first place and why this made a lot of sense. So again, working with market structure, we're currently, I mean, based on this timeline, we're in a downtrend. Okay, so we break the structure, price comes down. Cool. Okay, so we already know some kind of pricing would be met around here to either rebounds to come back down or take out, I mean, these nice clean equal highs, which is what I believed was going to be more of the target. Okay, so we had those nice clean equal highs just above Asia through there also. So we already understood that price was going to come to this area one way or another, either for a rebalancing, hitting this area here, this supply area, and then dropping, or cleaning this out to go for the bigger goal. So when we take a step back, which let me just do that. Let me take a step back on a 1 hour. When we take a step back, we already understand that, again, this is the other trade I showed from last week. We already understood that on a bigger time frame. Again, if we're doing our Fibonacci from the highest point to this lowest point, you can see where 89% lines up with, bang on with the supply candle that actually made that happen in the first place. So we already knew there's a possibility of that. So looking on a smaller time frame, understanding there's a possibility of that, then going to the 5 minute, knowing that is a possibility. All of these prices in here, I start now looking at basically liquidity is waiting to be taken. Okay, if we start looking at that again, nice trends, things are building up. So again, the trend line gets taken out. We've got nice clean equal highs. There's various things that point out why price should start going up. But let's just focus on this specific section. So, like I mentioned, we already understood the bigger picture. We see these nice clean highs. Okay, from those highs, we already understood that price could potentially come back up, rebound, bounce off, or clean these highs. So we start looking at the intermediate price. So we start seeing price breaking down through here. It breaks above. So now we're breaking again on the mini structure. We're seeing price break above this high right here, which is why I got a light bulb. That coincides with taking our Asia session high. Since that happened, okay, this specific day, which was the 31st of July on a Thursday, this is one day before the news. Okay, we have this price action here that I was curious about. Okay, very curious about to see what might happen this day. It didn't come anywhere close to it. So now start focusing on this price. This day finished right here. So when this day finished right here, I get up the next day. Okay, I'm seeing what's going on. I'm like, all right, cool. We're not gonna come anywhere close to this for now. Okay, so what's happening in Asia? Asia is doing its thing, all boxed up. We get this specific price action. And when I say this specific price action, I mean, like I say, this is what I've been doing for years. Okay, just literally the same thing over and over again. This specific price action right here is your money maker. Once you understand this and you understand what the hell is going on, this is your money maker. So get clean equal lows. I mean, it's not always clean, but the main thing is this specific price action happening here, boom, and then breaking structure to the upside. Once you see that, you know it's go time. So what do we see? We see exactly the same thing. Again, medium inducement happening there, boom, that price action happens right there. And then the key thing is then the break to the upside. So we get this break. Again, I mean, you can include any one of these three. One, two, three. Okay, once it breaks above here, but most importantly for me, this one, because this is the highest point before it drops lower. So specifically this one, guess what I can put now? I can put my light bulb, which is a breaker structure. So now I know price more than likely he's going to pull back into this point of interest. It's going to pull back into this gap, this candle, and then shift off. Okay, so why do you think we was very confident of calling a buy through here? 3288, 3286, in between that zone, which is these two zones right here. We said anywhere between there, you'll be good. As you already know, for me, I always include my FVG and the candle, and then that led to a 60 pip stop. If we're going to do a 10 to 1, as we usually do, as the hopeful us wants to do, then we already know we're going to get 600 pips. So what do we have here? 600 pips. Okay. Price comes in London session, okay, as early as 8:50. Okay. Price starts doing this, and then away we go. Just like that with the news, and price kept on going. Okay, and then now today is kind of chilling in and around here. Okay, but just like that, basically understanding this picture, basically understanding again from the PDF, the Asia session, okay, and then us calling it out on our free channel. Okay, this is literally a free channel. Okay, like again, check the link in the bio. It's literally a free channel. So if you want to join, you already know what to do. Just click the link in the bio, sign up with the instructions, and away you go. Okay, and you get a banging trade like that. Okay, and you showed, and last week exactly we showed you exactly the same thing. Last week was the other trade. The other trade is way up from here. Okay, last week near enough exactly the same, just the opposite way around. Okay, so once you start understanding these things, you start understanding how we trade, why we trade the way we do. You start understanding why we're doing it at the time we're doing it. You just literally copy. Okay, you just literally copy, and then boom, you're in the trade as well. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so that's gold. Okay, breaking down exactly that trade. But let's actually shift into what I expect to see for this week. So last week when we was talking, I was saying potentially we might come lower to take out the sell side liquidity. Came pretty close. Okay, but we stayed within this demand area, stayed pretty close, and then now we just start shifting up to do a rebalancing in and around here. So if we're talking about rebalancing, okay, like I mentioned last week, I believe I did mention we did not break above this high. So now I'm more in a mindset that price would technically still go lower maybe for the sell side liquidity. So when I'm looking at that now, I'm thinking, cool, what is this price doing right now? Okay, like I mentioned just slightly earlier, what is this price doing right now? This price is doing what? Rebalancing. Okay, you see where the 89% lines up, which is what? Where it started from, which is what? Our supply area, which coincidentally lines up 89%, almost like it's fake. All right, it's crazy. Like I always say, these charts never seem to amaze me how everything's totally balanced out. Okay, so point of interest here, we've got the H1. So I know potentially for this week, we're going to be reaching for this. And then once we do reach that, what could we potentially see? We look at our fib extensions. And what did I say from last week? These lows are just screaming to be taken out. Okay, they're just screaming to be taken out. So again, if I see that and I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, cool. Can we rebalance of this week? Again, take out this low, take out this sell side liquidity. We see where minus 27 is, okay, which lines up with a demand area. If we look at any lower, we can see all of that. But right now, let's just focus on our minus 27. And if we do the old school way of trading, which is a measured move, okay, the length of this from here to here is roughly about the same. Okay, so remember I mentioned that high. So when we're doing that now, we already know the fib extension makes sense. So when you're seeing that, it just makes sense. So now it's just a waiting game to see exactly how it do play out, if it does play out. But we know right now we're doing a rebalancing act. Okay, if we actually respect it and fall down, that's a different story. But right now we know for the next 2 days or so, we're going to reach in and around this area. And then we're going to make a key decision. Are we going to fall down to take out sell side liquidity? And who knows, maybe the next target being that. Or are we going to raise up, break structure again to the high side, and then do our thing? Okay, so right now that's the region that we're playing in. So it's just about a waiting game now. So for me this week, when I'm looking at gold, I'm looking at a little bit more buys just to reach that H1 POI. If we can get that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Okay, we'll see exactly how that could potentially happen. Okay, so that's the game plan for gold right now. And then obviously we got all of this rebalancing to do from last week, which we already know is probably a good time to pull this up. Let me get this text. Let's pull this up. So you already know sessions. Again, let me just enhance this to 22. Again, we'll skip Sunday. Market retrace slash rebalance the previous week's price action, which is this. And then hopefully we can see some rise up. Tuesday, we should see a high or low of the week. Hopefully this is Tuesday's high. And if it doesn't happen on Tuesday, then Wednesday, we should see that potentially happen. And then we lead into a midweek reversal, okay, which will be a pullback, hopefully. And then we can get specific entries. Thursday push into our weekly point of interest, okay, which for me would be at least rebalancing this, if not taking out all of this price action here, and then the sell side liquidity. And then Friday we rebalance 20 to 30% of what's already gone on for the week. Okay, perfect example of basically this. Okay, price was just doing this thing, and then boom, that Friday, boom, it goes up. So we're going to see exactly what could potentially happen with that, and then kind of shift on from there. So, well, let me put my charger in before my laptop dies. All right, cool. So we're seeing that. So that's gold. That's what I'm seeing potentially for this week. Okay. Let's shift on to Bitcoin. Let's go into the 1 hour time frame. Okay, 1 hour time frame. So Bitcoin last week we said, actually let's go into the 4 hour. I'm gonna do everything else on the 4 hour now. Just the best time frame to analyze slightly longer term trades. So last week we said, well, I said I'll be very curious to see price dropping back into 100K. And then obviously for my guilty, I won't say guilty actually, for my greedy purposes, I would love price to drop into this daily at 70K, okay, for my investing purposes, and then I can load up again. Okay, but yeah, that's what I would love long term. But for now, we have to deal with this demand that's literally blocking us from going any lower. So I'm curious about price getting back into the 100 mark. We are seeing price literally make its way down, it's continuously breaking structure to the downside, pulling back, breaking again. So if we're looking at this for this week, this area here is a point of interest for sure. Okay, between 117, 118. Okay, that would be a very curious place where we can see price hit, respect the supply, and then fall down. So that would be an interesting one to see this week if we can get that. But yeah, definitely it's making sense right now. We've broken structure to the downside here. Okay, now we're getting a pullback off this supply. And yeah, that's looking good. We're getting build up, nice build up. Again, if you're unaware of any of these kind of things, again, these are things that I've literally put in this PDF. So if you want to understand that, build up characteristics, if you want to understand that, then you start to see exactly what's going on here. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Not much to say about that, really. It's just doing what I expect it to do very, very slowly. I mean, last week it could have got some sales from here, but it wasn't as clean. But it's just doing exactly what I expect it to do. So yeah, if we could load up on some sales in and around here this week, I'll be very, very happy about that. That's looking good for sure. US 30. Similar, like I said, I expect a lot of these kind of things, stock markets, all these kind of things to crash a little bit before we can actually load up. So again, like I said, US 30 last week after we took buy side liquidity, that came all the way from here. Okay, nice clean highs, and then boom, buy side liquidity is taken, and then it finally starts to drop. The next demand area is through here. So we start to see the long-term picture, and then it's just about catching the trades in and around these areas to actually start selling it down. Similar to US 30. I mean, it's US 30 Bitcoin. Okay, break a structure. So what we're doing, we're putting back to the supply area. So when we start seeing that, we already know what we're going to be looking for this week in and around here, similar to Bitcoin. Can we get some sell-offs through here with the supply respecting and then coming down? Okay, very, very similar, not complicated. I'm not going to break it down properly. Again, I mean, we don't trade anything but gold in this channel, but yeah, if you want signals, you already know what to do. Come into here. But yeah, these are on the private Discord. Okay, so again, I'm gonna get more active with that in due time. But yeah, boom, this is gonna be dropping in here. So hopefully we see what happens when price does respect here, and then we can start looking for our entries. NAS 100. Did I mark this out last week? I didn't because I remember I said it was quite messy, and I was just curious to see what happens with this build up through here. And exactly as suspected, it's cleaned it out, and now we're doing a pullback and around here. So again, it's just the same thing, build ups being annihilated and then shifting away. Okay, just literally the same thing over and over again. So once you start understanding these things, you start to get a gist of what's going on. GBP USD, okay, didn't, I mean, it came very close to doing what we wanted it to do last week, just didn't quite do it. Okay, so came very, very close. I mean, made equal lows technically. Okay, we said sell side liquidity should be taken. And then from there, we could potentially start seeing pullbacks in and around these areas or something to actually take us lower into the sell side liquidities through here as well. So we came very close to doing it. It just kind of created equal lows. So this week, I won't be surprised if we do see that happen. Okay, so again, nothing much more to say about that because we covered that last week and it's basically exactly the same. It just didn't do what we wanted it to do. I wanted that sell side liquidity to be taken. Okay, coming into pricing today, we actually did take out maybe reducement through here, fill this gap. So who knows, maybe that might be the catalyst for price actually shifting slightly lower. But again, it's Monday, so we'll just be patient and see exactly what happens. Let's shift into EURUSD. This actually did the divergence that I thought GBP USD was going to do. I just didn't expect it from Euro USD. I thought it would be GBP USD that does the divergence, but it was the other way around. So I wanted this H4 from here. I was saying, yeah, let's see if we could tap into here and then shift up, do buy side liquidity. And I thought that would make more sense than GBP USD because GBP USD is the one that actually stayed above. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, so this just goes to show we don't control nothing in the markets except for our entries, stop losses, and our take profits. That is it. That is literally all we have control over. Everything else you have to charge to the game and just literally play what you see. Okay, you have to be very, very active on the markets to kind of understand what's going on. Okay, in a way where you're not reactive and you're not so active, but you're just there. You're ready for when your opportunity strikes. Okay, so there's a fine balance between being really, really active in the market and being very passive in the market. You have to find that sweet spot of understanding what's going on and waiting for your time to strike and then striking without fear. Okay, that's literally what makes a good trader. Okay, when you get over that fear of execution, that's where you start to see your game elevate to the next level. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we got the divergence on Euro USD rather than GBP USD. Okay, but I think that divergence will switch this week where you get a slightly low GBP USD. Okay, to then start shifting up, and then obviously because Euro USD has already done it, then we should respect this area. Let me just mark this out. We should respect this area here. Okay, hopefully this time. Okay, and then actually go up with that divergence. So if we go on a smaller time frame, you understand what's going on here. And again, guess what? Surprise, surprise, it's the same thing over and over again. Okay, so again, boom, low, cleans it out. Okay, and then it does its thing. If you wanted to go on even granular time frame again, you can see it very, very clearly here. Okay, we just never got a pullback here. So I believe this week, this area is going to be interesting because I mean, this needs to definitely balance out. Okay, so we're gonna definitely see something happen in around there. How it happens, we don't know yet. Like I just said, you just have to be ready to execute if the opportunity does strike. But what I do like is we got a break from here. Okay, and let me just move this arrow now. Okay, we did get a breaker structure through there. So what do you know what that means? You already know pullback is imminent. Okay, and like I said, how far that pullback happens, we don't know. But ideally, look where 89% is lined up. Liquid 27, liquid 62 is lined up. And then obviously we want our buy side liquidity being taken out. So that's all I'm going to say regarding that for now. Okay, you guys get the picture. Okay, AD USD, we marked out this area last week, and I think we marked out here as well, but it didn't quite play how I wanted it to. I think I deleted it, or did I mark it up? I'm sure I did. Anyway, same thing that's happening here. And what we want to see again, we get the same things happen in the bigger time frames that happen on the smaller time frame, which means the market is what? The market is fractal. Okay, the market is fractal, meaning whatever happens on the smaller time frames happens on the bigger time frames. We'll see exactly the same patterns over and over again. Okay, so boom, we get that clean break above. What do we know is going to happen? What happened to gold? Literally near enough exactly the same setup, just different pair, different time frame. Okay, near enough exactly the same. So what are we missing? Okay, so we got our H4 candle that we marked out for last week. We already kind of dipped into. Actually, did we dip it? No, we didn't dip into the FVG. Okay, didn't dip into it quite yet. So that's still active. Okay, so where's my? I'm sure. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we didn't actually dip into this. So this week again could be interesting. So Euro USD, very far away. Euro USD and AD USD looking quite similar right now. Okay, looking quite similar right now. So if we can get one of these playing out, I'm gonna be actually like this. What's the stop loss? And it's currently we're looking at 50 pips. Okay, and that's on a 4 hour. We could definitely narrow that down. Okay, but let's see how that plays out. This is gonna be everything's pointing towards the DXY actually falling down then, which again I think should go in line with what I was saying last week in regards to the DXY falling down. So let's just make this. I've got OCD about numbers and things being even. So let's just even this out. Okay, so we got that. So this could be a 10 to 1 trade right there. Okay, so 50 pips, 500 pips up. Not bad. That's what it's looking like on the 4 hour currently. So again, that is a trade that could potentially play out. But again, we see exactly how the week plays out. Okay, that's AD USD, GBP JPY. Again, last week, this is probably what I was thinking about when I said I've measured that out. So last week we looked at this H1 scene as a point of interest, but I did say I would prefer this H4. Totally annihilated it, skipped it. Okay, I remember this sell through here. That was nice. But I wish it didn't do all of this so I can actually got back in and then sell it all the way down. Didn't manage to do that, but the analysis is right. So yeah, this week we'll see what we can do if we can actually continue the uptrend and then shift up. So again, as you can see, clean uptrend. This is the last point. This is the lowest point of this structure, and this is the highest point. So everything else is internal structure. Again, is it this picture? No, what's going on? No, where's that picture? Okay, here. So again, literally this. Okay, we've got external structure, we've got an internal structure, and we already know what that means. It's just liquidity, and then price should hopefully continue sweeping up. So we're seeing that with this. Got the low, the high, we've got internal structures, clean it out. So now we're coming to this H4 POI. And then now we're going to see if we can actually bounce off this and then take out the high and make new highs again. So that's what I'll be looking at for GJ. Again, we'll just see if we can actually get a better risk to reward right now. I'm not trying to trade GJ on a 4 hour. That's suicide. What are we looking at? Yeah, 70, 80 pips. Yeah, I'm not trying to do none of that. Okay, so yeah, we'll see what can happen with that. USD JPY. Okay, similar where we had H1 marked out. We're seeing if we could play ball from there. But right now it's looking like it wants to maybe come lower. Okay, through here. Okay, which makes sense with the dollar as well. Okay, so this looks like it wants to come lower. And then we've got this H1 point of interest that I was looking at last week and then seeing if we can actually make new highs again. So very, very simple trades that we already talked about last week. And then yeah, we'll see exactly what can happen. And then last but not least, oil. Like I said, yeah, we got pretty close. Okay, so last week was talking about price coming up into this H1 point of interest. Okay, got pretty close, and then we started falling down again. So I'll be curious to see how this does actually play out and where we can actually potentially get entry. Right now, nothing's looking good to me. It's not looking clean at all. Didn't forget we got this, but we didn't get no breaks or nothing. Yeah, this will be an interesting one. So I'm just gonna wait to see what happens with this tomorrow because right now we're kind of playing off this demand in here. Okay, we've gone up. So we can just continue over Asia, just continue going up. But I would like to see what happens in the morning. I'm not trying to take that blindly right now. Okay, it's not that blind, but the break that I would love to see is way up here. And this is not filling me with too much confidence, especially with no gaps through this candle as well. So yeah. Okay, and last but not least, just to see if we're confirming everything. So again, let's go into the H4. So last week we were saying, can price react off this supply in here, or is it going to go higher and then could drop? And the latter is happening. So it's gone higher and now it's dropping. So we delete that. Okay, and we'll see exactly how we do play in the morning because right now we come back under this demand specifically. Okay, and USD JPY is pointing lower, so this is making sense. And Euro USD and everything else is looking like it wants to go higher as well. So this is going to be interesting because what else does it want? What else does it want down here? Let me just go into the weekly again. Oh, there's that gap there, but is it going to come that low? Okay, let's just adjust this gap and just pull this across. Can it come to that gap? Is that what it wants? Okay, see if it can actually come lower into here and then it's going to go up if it goes up. So that's what we're looking at for the dollar. Can it come lower into that gap right there? Okay, it makes sense because a lot of these pairs like Euro USD, AD USD are pointing like they want to go up. And that's a nice rebalancing. Euro USD. Okay, can it? Yeah, it's already pointing like it wants to go up. So that's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. It makes sense. It makes sense. So I just didn't think the dollar would go even lower to 94. Damn, that's interesting. All right, we'll see exactly how that plays out. But cool. That's literally all I'm gonna share for today. Very quick one, as you know, I will do from now on, just to show you my overview and what we're looking at week to week. But again, like I said, if you want to join this channel, links in the bio. If you want this PDF, links in the bio. And yeah, join the channel, get free trades, make money, keep it stepping. Until next time, I'll catch you guys soon.